Hello there, folks. My name is Spunks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Stillwater, which made $5.1 million on its opening weekend domestically, and currently there are no worldwide totals to speak of, so it is just basically sitting at $5.1 million on a budget of $20 million. So this is pretty much where I expected this movie to land. While I didn't think it was going to make the top 5, which surprised me, the total pretty much made sense. There wasn't a whole lot of buzz around this film, despite some actually positive reviews. I didn't hear anyone talking about it. And while I definitely saw some promotion, it wasn't all that promoted. There wasn't a huge marketing campaign over this. And seeing how the budget is $20 million, it's definitely going to need a lot of ground to cover in order to get there. And seeing how it's opened to number 5, and especially with the whole Matt Damon controversy, I see this movie struggling to get there. Number 4 is Black Widow, which made $6.4 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $167 million and its worldwide total to $344 million. So this movie is on the cusp of surpassing F9 The Fast Saga. It's like a couple $100,000 away from its domestic total, and I think it'll definitely be able to do that to become the highest grossing film of the year, and it's about halfway from reaching the $400 million mark worldwide, and I think it might be able to get there. And I'll be honest, that's reaching a bit too much, but I'm going to remain positive on that at the very least. It still hasn't opened in a lot of major markets like China yet, so I think that'll help boost it up. And also, an interesting thing is that with each consecutive week during its theatrical run, it keeps having better holds than the week previous. This week it had a 45% hold, and last week it had a 55% hold, which is actually pretty interesting when you consider things. And while that is all good said and done, the thing is, this film is really starting to slow down, and not just domestically. International numbers have slowed down. I thought it was going to reach 400 million by the end of last week, and it will probably become even closer to 500 million by the middle of this week. But no, things have slowed down again. It hasn't been released in other international markets, but again, I think it would have still made a lot of money, and even domestically, while having much stronger holds with each and every week, it is slowing down, which is kind of unfortunate. And while it is guaranteed going to be the biggest movie of the year so far, I think this movie is definitely going to play out more like Ant-Man from 2015, where it'll still be, in the grand scheme of things, it'll be a big hit, with how things are. This is moderately acceptable. I can tell that a lot of filmmakers are looking at this and going, wow, I wish that movie made that much money. But in terms of Marvel movies, it's probably gonna look subpar compared to those. But I'm still gonna remain a little optimistic for this film because I think it's still gonna get to 400 million. It just needs to open in some more markets, and I think this film domestically still has some staying power. Like I said, with each consecutive week, the film continues to have stronger hold. So I think this film, for the next couple of weeks, will have some staying power. It's definitely going to get knocked down a couple spots due to some very stiff competition, but I'm still going to give it a chance. It is still Marvel, and these movies, continue to draw people in, and this film is certainly doing that. It's made over 5 million this weekend, so that's very good. So I think Black Widow will be in the top 5 for a little while longer. Number 3 is The Green Knight, which made $6.7 million on its opening weekend domestically, and like Stillwater, there are no worldwide totals yet. But regardless, this film actually exceeded expectations. A lot of people were surprised by this number, as I was as well. I wasn't expecting this film to open this well, considering it's a fantasy medieval film made by the guy who made the Pete's Dragon remake and a Ghost Story, and is produced by A24. I wasn't really sure how well this movie was going to do, but it did pretty well. And what makes it all the better is that the film cost $15 million. And while I definitely think that this film has a better chance at recouping its budget than Stillwater, where I think it's gonna falter is, well, the audience. Because audiences who saw this film weren't too kind with it. They definitely liked it a lot less than critics, so word of mouth is probably not gonna be so kind with this movie. So we'll see how it does next week. Will it take a hit? Will it surprise once again? I'm not sure, but so far it's looking pretty alright for The Green Knight. For at least its opening weekend, that is. Number 2 is Old, which made $6.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $30 million and its worldwide total to $48 million. So while yes, it took quite a hit this weekend, falling 59% from last weekend, compared to the other films that came out this summer that took quite a hit, I'm sure this 59% hold is more than acceptable. It's actually on par with Quiet Place Part 2's hold back in May. And B, the film is a box office success. The movie costs $18 million and it's about to make $50 million worldwide, which is insane. And given how well the movie's doing stateside, I think it definitely can cross the $50 million mark domestically. So I see good things for this movie in the future, and it definitely feels like a while since I've said this, but we have a hit. We have a box office success. Universal did a great job advertising, and the audiences came and saw it and supported it. And I think it's going to profit for sure and will surely become one of the sleeper hits of not only the summer, but the post-pandemic in general, because going into it, people didn't know what to expect with this movie. It's an original concept, and reviews were very mixed, but it turned out to be a box office hit. So good on you, M. Night. You made another hit on your hands, and I look forward to seeing how well it does throughout the rest of its theatrical run. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was Jungle Cruise, which opened to $35 million domestically on its opening weekend and is sitting at $62 million worldwide. So this film actually surpassed expectations, even the highest of expectations. I was expecting this movie to open to at least $25 million, but it actually made $10 million more, which is insane. This is the 4th largest film post-pandemic, behind Black Widow, F9, and Quiet Place Part 2. And I definitely think it will become one of the bigger films of the summer and the year, given how while critics were a little lukewarm, they said it was alright. Audiences seem to be more positive. They really enjoyed this movie. So I definitely think word of mouth is going to help this movie out, and it'll definitely cross 100 million worldwide and 50 million domestic. But like a lot of blockbusters this summer, this film's success comes with an asterisk. The movie cost a reported $200 million to make, and $35 million isn't the best number to start off with. So it's definitely going to need a lot of staying power and longevity to even get to that number. And another factor is that, once again, a lot of these blockbusters that are coming out, except for the very rare exceptions, have steep drop-offs in their second weekend. So will the film hold strong in its second weekend like something like Cruella, or will it plummet to the ground like something like Space Jam? I don't really know. So even with a strong start off, it's still got a long ways to go to make its initial budget, but strange things have happened before. Cruella, for example, was able to make its initial budget of $200 million back worldwide and was even able to hold very strong domestically. And in terms of family films, this movie doesn't really have that much competition until late August when, of all things, the Paw Patrol movie hits theaters. So we'll see how well this movie does in the long run. But with all things considered, this opening is not that bad. It could have been better, but also not that bad. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters next weekend. And we only really have one major new release, and that is The Suicide Squad. So I think this movie's definitely going to have one of the biggest openings of the year. It might not reach Black Widow's opening, but I think it can open on par with F9's opening weekend, given how amazing the reviews are for this movie. They are ecstatic. People calling this one of the best superhero comic book movies of all time. James Gunn knocked it out of the park. Warner Brothers has been promoting it like crazy, and there is certainly a lot of buzz, and people are very excited to see the movie. But unlike the other attempt at a Suicide Squad movie, this movie is rated R, and it is a hard R, in fact, so that's definitely going to limit the audience for this movie and the number of people that can see it, and it will also be streaming on HBO Max, given that it is a Warner Brothers movie. But I don't think those two factors will affect the film per se, given how highly anticipated the movie is and how much buzz there is around it. But we'll truly see how well this movie does on the next episode of Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all of the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.